Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, May 18th, and this is Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. Brian and I are going to talk about some potential hot spots in the markets today where you might want to potentially be looking for some volatility and trading opportunity. Before we get over there, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? One, we're going to be talking about dollar weakness. We're seeing the pound dollar trading at highs that we haven't seen in years. We're also going to take a look at the Canadian dollar. We're seeing, the dollar weakness. We're seeing the U.S. Canadian dollar trading at lows we have not seen in years. So the dollar has been absolutely getting hammered. Then we're going to pop over and take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is looking to open in the green today, even though Tesla is down fairly significantly again. Unlike yesterday where that led the NASDAQ lower with the other tech stocks. Today, while Tesla's down, the NASDAQ itself is looking to open in the green. It's not pulling everything down. So with that, Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you and let's talk about U.S. dollar weakness, and then we can take a look at the NASDAQ.
Yeah, so again, I love this 24-hour pip change. I think it just gives you a great view of really kind of what's happened and kind of where we stand currently right now entering a new session. So yesterday, if you remember, we were pretty much flat across the board. Some of the trends that we've talked about in recent kind of weeks really is pound strength has been something that we've been really focused on. We've talked about Canadian strength as well, again, because of the recovery, because of the type of economy that they have. And again, dollar weakness is one of those things that we've mentioned because the Fed refuses to acknowledge that inflation is there and that we're really going to do anything with it. As soon as they announce it, then we'll start having dollar strength come back in. But right now, we've yet to see it. And across the board, euro dollar up 85 or 84 right now. Pound dollar 113 is huge. Dollar yen down. Dollar Swiss down 50, also big. Dollar CAD down 92 is bigger than one daily ATR. So again, there's that strength that we're seeing. Aussie dollar up 65. Euro pound a little bit, a little bit down. So again, pound strength coming in there, and then again, pound yen up 75. So been a big movement in 24 hours, and a lot of it has really happened kind of more in the overnight, and then obviously the UK session has a little bit of retracing, but it's one story across the board. The same thing we've mentioned: the pound strong, CAD strong, and then again, obviously dollar weak. Interesting thing to note this morning is we do have Bailey speaking at 10 o'clock. So as much as this is going up, there may be some profit taking coming in right after our U.S. Open today. And again, 10 o'clock is a very popular reversal time. So we may see a reversal in some of these positions as kind of all the dollar selling kind of flips back. It is, I would say across the board, it is in areas of reversals pretty much across the board. So we'll see if those are able to hold or if we have that continued push. And pound dollar. So yesterday we talked about a level up top. Again, it had been touched before. So the pound dollar, it ended up kind of grinding into it. It ended up hitting the level, and I don't know if you guys can see it or not. It ended up hitting the level late last night, right? About 8, 9 o'clock last night, we ended up tagging that level, and we started basing below it, which is typically a telltale sign. After that, you guys know what we do. We're looking for zones to break, and we're looking for pullbacks. And again, that's what we ended up getting. Right around midnight, my time is where we got. And actually, there was 2 different entries. You could have grabbed one at about 10:30 last night. Here's the midnight. And then again, do we like to take a trade at midnight? Not really. It's not really a market, but I do mention session open all the time. And here's the session open candle that not only pulled back, again, the little Harry Potter signal, but gave us the entry right there around 2:30 this morning. And it was off to the races, and this was quite a large runner of about 54 pips. Now, we're kind of getting our profit taking coming in about this 5 o'clock range. We've had a pullback and a little bit of a base. So Where do we go with this now? I'm going to slide this down, and you should eventually
Oh,
be able to
by the
see it.
way, just I forgot to mention, we did point out that at the session open, the UK did announce their employment numbers. They're adding more jobs more than expected. Their unemployment rate was down just a touch. So
Yep.
yeah, the pound definitely doing well as they continue to see economic recovery coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's consistent. Everything they mention is good. And like I said, the job of the kind of the main guy, Bailey,
Yeah,
right? Bailey's job is to again temper the market in both directions. So he may say that we're seeing all these great signs, but this just to kind of
right.
temper it a little bit because again, the more expensive your currency is, it does hurt you as far as exports go, and
It's
he's
got
not.
it's
He
got to
knows
be
that.
killing them now.
Yeah, he knows that, right? So
Right.
again, but bring it back up again. So but like I said, again, there's a couple different scenarios. We could get a little bit of a pullback, and this is staying with the trend. This is looking for an actual pullback, but there's that small little level sitting right in here where, at about 6:30 this morning, we had those profit takers and the buyers stepped in, and there's actually a candle over there. So, one possible scenario of today is if we can get this to come down before his speech. And it doesn't require a lot. I mean, it requires about 15, 20 pips, and we got about an hour and 10 minutes for it to happen. Can absolutely happen with the U.S. Open in there. That could be the initial, that could be another launching point. If he does mention how great they're doing and how great everything's looking, again, there's your pullback for another release. So, oops, sorry guys. Oh, I was like, you see the dog's barking. I was like, oh God.
We're all good.
It's a great teen. Yeah, she's loud. 141.88. So, that could be another one of those ones that is news based. We know he's speaking at 10 o'clock. We know all the data out of there has been extremely positive. We're looking for the U.S. trader to step in. And again, if they come back in and say, hey, listen, the dollar's been getting beaten up, we got to, whether get our profit or we got to kind of find a bottom for this one, there would be a potential pullback area for this one with news today. And again, it just continues high. I want to kind of shrink this down. If you guys look up top, this is the next major level up top. Now, I can find this on the daily. I can find it on the 4-hour, but unfortunately, I can't go back far enough in time to be able to find it on some of the lower time frames. So it is a little bit bigger of an area. It's about 34 pips. But there's a major area sitting up there at 143.39. So really, any type of longs, again, whether we have pullbacks, again, I'm not saying this is a straight shot. I expect that it will continue to look like this. And maybe we pull back a little bit lower to grab more buyers. But I think overall, we continue to stay with the pound strength opinion, looking for this to kind of grind back up. And then what happens is when we get to the daily zone, that may be where we start looking for a little bit more of a pullback, a little bit more of a reversal from the pound.
So I did want to show something different. You can certainly playing these with the binary options. One way to go. The other way to go is you might want to take a look at the call spreads. We've got some call spreads that and again, it all depends on what you're looking to try to do. But if you were looking for a little bit of a pullback and for this to then go higher today and continue with the trend, we've got some call spreads where there's limited risk. You got some upside if you're able to see the pound extend this through the day. These end at 3 p.m. Today. These are the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. call spreads. Now, the other side, he says something that is going to try to see, to bring it back down to earth a little bit, and you see it making a move and breaking to the downside, doing some bit of a pullback. You might want to take a look at a different call spread where you could potentially go short. So there are some call spreads in here that would, one would be where you would want to potentially look if you were going short, again, limiting your upside risk if you're wrong, giving you some room to run to the downside. The other being one where if you thought it was going to extend, you look to go long it. And you've got limited risk to the downside. So call spreads might be interesting to look if you want to play the pound dollar today. Let's flip it over. I'm going to have you take a look at. I don't know if you got any more on this, or if you want to jump over to the CAD.
No, the CAD is there. This is how you got. That's how you know we're getting old. I'm like, hey, did we talk about this yesterday? Was it with you? I do a couple of broadcasts in the morning. I do it for my students as well, and we talked about this level of basing. It's an area that we had seen before. We had seen some kind of basing, and the way that the pattern kind of hit it and bounced, we were looking for it to really come base in this level and break through the 120.59 level, and it did. You can see it came down and based on the other side and just continued to drop. For the CAD, I think this one comes down in the 119.83 range. Again, this is a daily zone that we're running into. The higher the time frame, the zones tend to kind of have more buyers placed there. Remember, institutions are not looking at 5-minute, 30-minute candles. They are looking at 4 hours at a minimum and above. So when they start to see reversals, and a lot of the things that they, any type of analysis that they do is done on larger time frames, this area definitely comes into play. Now, do I think it's going to stop at 119? Again, it really depends on the Fed. We do have FOMC notes tomorrow, and I've been saying this for a little while now. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, again, we had some comments last night talking about how things are moving a little bit farther ahead. And, actually, I could probably find them over here. It was from yesterday talking about, starting to taper and things like that. I forget who it was. It was one of the kind of the lesser Fed chiefs that was mentioning it. But, basically being in favor of, starting our tapers sooner than they had expected. Oh, yeah, right over in here. Kaplan, I favor tapers, taper. I'll just hit the button. It's easier. Kaplan, I favor taper talk. Taper talk. It's the thing. It's going to kill me on morning.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a tongue twister.
I favor taper talk sooner rather than later. So again, Kaplan is really making a push to get his name out there. He's made a lot of comments that have been more in touch, I would say, with what the overall market feels. Right. So again, now you're starting to see some people in the Fed, and again, not everybody. There are still a few people that are like this with the blinders on. But again, Kaplan is starting to talk this. So, that's definitely one of those things that is helpful. So what we may see is when this comes down, and again, I would say that today is probably a continued push lower. As soon as we start getting in this 119.83 range, there could be a very, very interesting setup for tomorrow with FOMC, especially if we come down and start putting in, what I would call like a failure to go lower, where you have something like this, and then the next kind of push down struggles with a nice little candle that looks like this. That could be an opportunity for us to find probably more of a knockout, right? Call spreads are more used for the trending because, again, we don't have to worry about it whipping through, where a knockout is more of a reversal because we don't have that extra leeway. There could be something in here if we go a little bit lower, get some decent basing, particularly around the European Open tomorrow, but if not, the U.S. Open as well, to play that FOMC note tomorrow. Somebody's got to mention inflation at some point.
We will definitely take a look at that one tomorrow. In the few minutes we got left today, let's take a quick peek at the Nasdaq because we mentioned that, and we're also getting asked about the S&P, the S&P 500, the US 500. So maybe we could let's just take because I think the charts look similar. But let's take a look at NASDAQ, and then let's take a look at the ES. And
I can run through all of them real quick in the next 3 minutes. That's the goal.
If you want to throw in the Dow too, I'll let you do that.
Let's do it. Let's just throw it in.
But let's go around the horn. Even though we are going to be, I just want to tee it up. Brian is going to be doing a full-blown hour-long session, noon Eastern. So if you wanted to catch the whole gamut of things, be sure to join that webinar in what is that? And that's in
3 hours.
In 3 hours. I have to do the math.
We were sitting right in here yesterday, right around the 13,300 level. And I mentioned, hey, listen, we're gonna have some profit taking coming in around the 13,237. If you were short in the overnight, there was your overnight trend. Here was your afternoon kind of, and I mentioned it could be a lunch, a coming back from lunch. It could be a feel good, the end of day rally type scenario. And it did. It came all the way down. It based right on that line that we drew and actually pulled a little bit lower and grabbed some orders. But again, this was kind of that post lunchtime rally. Since then, it's done nothing but come all the way back in the overnight. Now, this is why I love session opens. People are always like, well, I don't have time to sit here all day long. Great, don't. Just trade the session opens if you want to.
Right.
Here was the level that we had yesterday. It was that prior level of basing. But again, to get a new entry, you typically want to get the freshest levels of buyers or sellers. That would have been the blue box right above. And again, there's your session open. And at this point, we've already kind of pulled back down, about 50, about 60 points already since that open. I would say there's some levels in here, some basing right back down again. But the reason I would say that right now I'm probably a bit more bearish is because of the setup here. We're coming off of a level in NQ. And then most likely it'll have some issues a little bit on the way down. But I think overall, at 13,222 is probably, again, where we want to kind of have our targets at for shorts here. ES is in a similar situation. You can see that ES, again, a level of basing. It's been touched. It's been tested. And it just happened to be that this area right here where it hit, I don't need to say it, guys, European session open.
Yep.
Right there, coming straight back down. Now, there's some buyers here, but kind of the same thing. I would say there's probably some down here in the 1441 level. But if I had to kind of say, hey, listen, we need to make sure that we're out, probably sitting right around there. And the reason why is because this is a very, very large push. This was kind of like a little bit of a pullback at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This was a big push at the open. So we know that we have buyers coming in at 41.36. But again, kind of an overall target to the downside. The Dow also, look, just went off of the same level, a nice base. It was tested. It came back up and base through and kind of peeked its head right through the top. And actually, my drawing's off a little bit right there. But again, it's doing the same thing. So all three are kind of set up in the same pattern where they've bounced off a level. They're pushing lower. They're trying to find some buyers, and with the same idea. I would say this one I wouldn't use necessarily the lowest. I'd have profit taking here, but I wouldn't necessarily be looking for a bounce or a long until 34,017. I'll
Perfect.
support. So there.
All
Three
right.
indices, 35 seconds. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, reminder, 3 hours, a full-blown session, webinar. You can sign up on the Nadex website. With that, if you've got any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com, whether it's about our products, about the platform, about your account. We can't help you if you're having challenges if you don't let us know. Brian is also very accessible. You can email him, support@keeptradingsimple.com. He's a great resource. Use him. He's accessible and available. With that, just what did we cover today? We've been seeing U.S. dollar weakness across the board. The pound dollar trading at highs we haven't seen in years. The U.S. Canadian dollar trading at lows that we haven't seen in years. And then we're seeing the U.S. equity markets all looking to open in the green to start, although they are retracing off of session highs as the European traders probably try to wind up some of their positions before they sign off, and U.S. traders pick it up. All right. So with that, hopefully we catch you again in a few hours. Otherwise, we'll catch you tomorrow morning. And we wish you good luck.